Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to this Board of Commissioners meeting this August 11th for the town of Waxhaw. Let's take a moment, catch our breath. We'll go ahead and start our evening with an invocation. We have Joe Lapos, Joe Lapos is going to give us an invocation to kick off our evening's activities. Thank you.
Let's please bow our heads for the first invocation since 2019. Heavenly Father and Lord of the universe, we honor and worship you for your amazing love and grace that has been bestowed upon us.
Thank you, Jesus.
On behalf of many in Waxhaw, we're sorry for removing your presence from these proceedings. Thank you for being patient, and please accept our repentance and forgive us. Please honor and bless this board and town staff for granting you permission to be present with us again starting today. This is the hard part, Lord. Help us to do as you taught and forgive those who trespass against us and forge ahead to make this a better place to live for all. God, we know elected officials swear upon the Bible where it says in the beginning in Genesis that you mandated a call to carefully steward all that you created. Help us all to do so. Remind us that at the end of the Bible it says in Revelation 11 that you would one day return to judge both those who feared you and those who raged against you. For some reason, of all things people do wrong, it stated that you would destroy the destroyers of the earth and land. You knew long ago that greed would tempt all men, especially those in power. So help us, dear God, to heed the warnings to care for all the people in your land too. So, dear God, on this first invocation in 7 years, help these strong leaders to seek your wisdom and your will in every decision that they make. And Lord, give Jim Black a fist bump from all of us too. I pray this in the powerful name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Joe. Congratulations on being the first in some time. Alrighty, so we will start our official opening ceremonies as well with a Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, one and all. Are there any adjustments or amendments to tonight's agenda? Hearing none then, can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up, we have general public comments. We had some confusions with the sign-up sheets, so we have the public comments a little mixed with the data center comments. So we will focus, I will call out those that signed up for the general public comments. To kick us off, first on that list would be, again, Mr. Joe Lapos.
Hopefully you're not all tired of me yet. Hey, first I want to thank Mayor Murray and all 5 members of this board for being people who keep your word. Shortly after the first election 2.5 years ago, some of us felt the need to challenge the moment of silence. I first recited Ben Franklin's famous speech that resulted in Congress calling upon God before every meeting. Why not ours, we asked. All 3 of you on the split board attempted to bring it back. But shockingly, the former members who touted their religion and quoted Bible verses were against it. It is no wonder after the rejection of God that polarization reigned in these halls. It is a perfect example of why it is important. We stood against the destruction of land by developers who adopted a leave no trees behind philosophy and how it all gentrified senior citizens and lower income families. Some have argued saying the purpose of invocation is to promote a specific religion or even proselytize. No, it is to create a purposeful reminder of the vows sworn upon a Bible which holds the highest standard of ethics and fairness. Over 7 billion copies of the Bible have been sold, and in this digital age, billions read it online. It is not a minority view to include God in all things. Some ask, what is the angst about developments as if they are evil? In the first chapters of Scripture, it says humans were put here to steward the beautiful world God created. Building is not evil. It is normal, but it need not be in a total destructive pattern that takes no account for wildlife, trees, and how it affects residents. I mentioned Revelation 11 in the invocation. I don't know how that came up, but God gave me some things to say, and so I'm going to go with what he told me to do. In Revelation 11, because it's an important prophetic dialogue that lays out how we will be graded for our mandate. The full text in Revelation 11 says, "The seventh angel blew his trumpet, and there were loud voices in heaven saying, 'The kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of the Lord and of his Christ. He shall reign forever and ever.' And the 24 elders who sit on their thrones before God fell on their faces and worshiped him." Next, it tells of the final grade. "The nations raged, but your wrath came with the time for the dead to be judged. First, for rewarding your servants and those who fear your name, both small and great. And finally, for destroying the destroyers of the earth." We all have moments of rage for both good and bad reasons. Without God's forgiveness and grace, we're all nothing at all. But judgment is not ours, it is only God's. But why did he pinpoint destroyers of the earth? What a sobering cry to the ultimate consequences of humanity's downfall and the importance of stewardship. Oh, what a mandate this board and the town engineers have on your shoulders. It is a big task, but you all have righted our future by putting God in first place at these proceedings to ensure his words and his guidance are followed. Now may God and his wisdom be with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Next up, we have Father Benjamin Roberts.
I do hope those timers don't appear while I'm preaching. I'm Father Benjamin Roberts. I'm a priest of the Diocese of Charlotte. I was, for the last 14 years, the pastor of Our Lady of Lourdes in Monroe, and on July 1st assumed my new responsibility as the priest in charge of the Catholic community of Waxhaw. I have been appointed to oversee the transition of St. Matthew's South Campus into its own parish over the coming probably year until we're officially declared a parish by the Bishop of Charlotte, and then I'm tasked with being the founding pastor, so uniting in one way the already 3,500 Catholic families that live in Waxhaw, Weddington, Marvin, and Wesley Chapel, along with some people who come over from South Carolina. So our intention, of course, will be to build a church and many other things, and since we are your neighbor, literally right there, I wanted to come and introduce myself. I was born in Charlotte. I grew up 20 minutes from here in Lancaster, where my parents still live. I watched Waxhaw grow up. I fulfilled a childhood dream on July 4th. Any kid in Lancaster wants to, as a part of their life goal, to be part of the 4th of July parade in Waxhaw. So I had the great privilege to do that. Again, I'm very happy to be here. I look forward to working with you for us to be a presence of goodness, of hope, and of unity in this community.
Thank you very much. Let's see here. General, that's a data intro. Okay, the rest are data center comments. We will go ahead and leave those for our public hearing. Seeing no other sign-ups for general public comments, this concludes our general public comments. Any other commission response regarding public comments at this point? All right, hearing none, I will add mine. One thing people don't generally remember is our Pledge of Allegiance. Our Pledge of Allegiance states one nation under God. And the under God wasn't there in the original draft of the Pledge of Allegiance. It was added at an interesting time in our history. For those that aren't aware, it was added during the Cold War, when the communist Soviet Union was basically growing and expanding, both in power and in region. And it was one of those things that the country at that time felt it was necessary to add to our pledge to help distinguish the United States from our communist adversaries. Under communism, i.e. socialism, God must be removed from the psyche of man. Because without God, that leaves man searching to fill the void. And man will then quickly latch on to a system or an individual other than God. There's a very specific reason our Declaration of Independence says, endowed by our Creator, we have inalienable rights. Our Creator was put there to remind us that our rights for liberty and life and happiness come from God. They don't come from an individual. They don't come from a system. They don't come from a king. They don't come from an emperor. They don't come from a ruling party and its party members. They come from God. And that's why I'm happy today to have this invocation as part of our starting ceremony. I think it's a good addition to remind us all that it is our Creator that gave us life, gives us liberty, and gives us our right to pursue happiness. And that's where those rights come from. And we need to remember that. They're not coming from people, they came from God. And we get to exercise those here in this country. So thank you. Well said. Alrighty. Next up, we have the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. We have one particular item within the consent agenda that we will be reading this evening. Our Mayor Pro Tem Wedra will be reading our honor to the legacy of Mr. Jim Black.
I'd like to welcome his family tonight. Whereas the town of Waxhaw, North Carolina, pauses to look back and remember the remarkable life, vibrant spirit, and lasting impact of longtime resident and community icon, Jim Black. And whereas Jim Black was a constant, welcoming presence at every town gathering and celebration, showing an unmatched dedication to his neighbors and a deep love for Waxhaw's community. And whereas, with the rise of social media, Jim stepped forward, generously using his time and talent to capture the smiles and milestones shared history of our citizens. And whereas his photographs and posts did more than just document events. They connected neighbors, they preserved memories, boosted local pride, and built a digital scrapbook of our own town's growth. Whereas Jim was instantly recognizable and beloved for his trademark optimism, warm personality, and his signature thumbs up pose that brought joy and reassurance to everyone he met. And whereas while Jim Black has passed away, his legacy, cheerful spirit, and love for Waxhaw will live on in the hearts of our community and the memories he left behind. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor of the town of Waxhaw, along with the town board of commissioners, and on behalf of all our citizens, do hereby honor the life and legacy of Jim Black and express our deepest gratitude for his years of service as Waxhaw's storyteller, photographer, and friend. We call upon all residents to carry forward his spirit of positivity and community pride. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the town of Waxhaw to be affixed this 11th day of August 2026.
Thank you very much to the Black family. We mourn your loss. Thank you. Alrighty, next up we have recognitions. We have Miss Dina, Parks and Rec. We have a couple recognitions.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to recognize Ms. Robin. Ms. Robin started her journey here with the town in July 21 in the finance department as the accounting technician. She quickly earned more responsibilities and did a great job there, but we kind of stole her. So in August of 22, she became a part of the Park and Rec department as the administrative assistant, and then again did a great role and now is the deputy administration. Over the last couple of years, Ms. Robin has done a key role in our department, helping us with many grants, such as the Great Trails State Grant, the Carolina Thread Trail Grant, and then also helped us with securing funds for the small trailer as well. She's been a co-leader on that one. She's also been at the creation of the Friends of Waxhaw Parks and Trails from the beginning to now its nonprofit status. So she's all around helped in so many different ways in that form. Also, Ms. Robin helps out with our financial, because that's always a challenge with budget. She helps with our year-end, also with other projects, with the downtown project, park project, the learning center project, the rec farm project, and the PSPR building. So all these things logistically getting those finances together, which is totally appreciative. She handles our accounting on payables, receivables, the keeping up with the grants, also with purchasing. She coordinates with special event rentals, which is a challenge at sometimes, and also does a percentage of rentals with the parks and facilities. Also sponsor a space. So if you would like to sponsor one of our lovely spaces in the parks or trails, she's your person. And scout projects. You'll have a presentation for 2 scouts coming up in just a few minutes. Again, a wonderful person to help us prolong our finances and also help us to move that next spot. Her dedication, organization, professionalism, commitment to ensuring the Parks and Rec continues to serve our community to its highest level. I want to say thank you, Ms. Robin, for serving the last 5 years with the town of Waxhaw, and please help me congratulate her on this wonderful milestone. There you go. You want to say anything?
I guess I could. No, I just want to thank my team, the town staff, my family. Honestly, I love Waxhaw, so I want to give everything I can to it, but my team is what makes me smile and happy every day, so I really appreciate them too. So thank you very much.
You have one more, Miss Dina? Oh, Andrew's doing this one. Gotcha. Mr. Andrew, how are you?
Thank you for having us. We're here today to celebrate a major milestone for our department and for our town. Chris Blanchard is officially making 5 years with the town of Waxhaw. Over the past 5 years, Chris has been an absolute pillar for our team. Watching his growth has been incredible, stepping up to become our park lead and taking on a full scope as the crew lead responsibilities without missing a beat. 3 years ago, Chris made history by becoming the first recipient of the Sunny Splon Employee of the Year Award. That award honors someone who leads with integrity, exceeds expectations, and brings a true attitude of gratitude to work, qualities Chris continues to model every single day. Beyond keeping our parks in top shape, what really sets Chris apart is how he connects with people. He currently mentors several of our team members, passing on his knowledge, work ethic, and standards every single day. But his warmth exceeds well beyond our immediate crew. Chris is easily one of the most welcoming people you'll ever meet. Whether he's out in the parks or around town, he's always waving, smiling, and saying hello to everyone, even people he's never met before. He makes our entire department approachable and sets a fantastic standard for community interaction. On a personal note, I couldn't ask for a better partner in managing this team. Having Chris by my side to handle the day-to-day operations, lead the crew, and keep everything running smoothly makes a world of difference. He leads by example, earns the respect of everyone around him, and truly makes Waxhaw a better, friendlier place. Chris, thank you for 5 years of hard work, leadership, and dedication. We're incredibly lucky to have you on the team, and I'm looking forward to many more years of working with you together. Please join me in giving Chris a round of applause.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chris. All righty, next up, we have Mr. Orion with our engineering department.
Good evening. I have Linda, our administrative assistant. Let me see what she had prepared for me today. Oh, very good. Linda, is our engineering administrative assistant. Congratulations for being with the town for 5 years. Linda is much more than administrative assistant. She's the true heartbeat of our engineering team. She keeps us organized with her friendly spirit, and she keeps things running smoothly. Linda, we are lucky to have you on our team and celebrate with us today.
Thank you.
Good evening. Tonight we're here to recognize Sergeant Wally. He began his career in New York, retired from there, started his second career here in Waxhaw in 2019. While the time he's been here, he's got 1,000 hours of law enforcement training, and we're recognizing him tonight for earning his North Carolina Law Enforcement Advanced Certificate. Wally. Yep, that's it. That's yours. Congratulations. All right. We have another one this evening. Detective Howard, he began his law enforcement career in 2012. Over the years, he's completed over 1,000 hours of training, and North Carolina has recognized him with his law enforcement advanced certificate also. Corey, thank you for your time here. Thank you for your training. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Always good to recognize the high standards of the Waxhaw Police Department. Thanks again. Next up, we have a couple very special presentations this evening, or recognitions this evening. Miss Robin, we have a couple Eagle Scouts in the house.
Hello again. I'll introduce myself again, even though I'm Robin Vire, Deputy of Admin for Parks and Rec, and I'm here with Jeremy and Max and Laura. Max has actually done our Eagle Scout project for the Town Creek Park Pollinator Garden. So I always mess this up. Next one. Or did I turn it off? Nope. I always mess this up. Which one? Right button. All right, see, I told you, I messed this up, it's fine. Anyway, so Max was actually a big part of wanting to do our revitalization of the Town Creek Park Pollinator Garden, which actually was an Eagle Scout project a couple years ago. You'll see top left, that's where we basically started. So he pretty much started from scratch. He basically did the soil, added some compost, did some new plants, and did a whole new walkway. You'll also see that he added a bee habitat. He added a bench. That bench was actually made from wood salvaged from the Seacrest cabin that unfortunately burned down at our Museum of the Waxhaw. So that commemorative plaque is there. You'll see that it's a beautiful bench. You definitely should go check it out. And he actually, you can see his group. They actually did a give a rock, take a rock garden as well, and added the little library back. So that might actually be a future Eagle Scout project soon too. So he did a great job. His group did an awesome job, and we really appreciate all his hard work. Do you guys want to say anything? Okay. But thank you guys so much for your hard
work. It's great to see a piece of that cabin live on for many, many years as a bench. Miss Amy, we have another one.
Good evening. I'm Amy Merrill, the Downtown Park Manager, and I've been working closely with Ben, come on up, and his mom Sarah and his dad Todd. Robin is the Boy Scout Eagle Scout project, but she let me take the reins with this after it was just a little bit of a process, so that's why I'm taking this on. I've worked with Ben. Actually, he did some cleanup at the park for us. I guess I got this. About 3 years ago, he contacted us and was interested in doing some cleanup around the park. So I got to meet Ben and his mom, and he did a great job then. And we talked about his project, which is the wind phone. There's a QR code up there if you're interested in learning about the wind phone, but we now have one at the downtown park. I mentioned it to Ben at the time of the cleanup of the park, and he ran with it. 3 years later, here we are. We now have the wind phone in the downtown park. It's basically a place where you can send a message to a loved one or just talk to anybody who will listen, and then the wind will carry your message away. Ben and his team did a great job. They worked great together. He was always a go-getter, and his parents and other Eagle Scouts were amazing. Here's some more pictures. And actually tonight he put on the final touches. We don't have those pictures, but I'm proud of Ben, and he did a great job, and congratulations, Ben.
I'd like to thank the town of Waxhaw for allowing me to build the wind phone in their new downtown park. I'd especially like to thank the Department of Parks and Recreation with Mrs. Amy, Mrs. Robin, and Mr. Jim for helping me to see the process through and eventually complete the project. It wouldn't have been possible without them, so thank you.
And we have one more recognition this evening. Miss Brandy.
Yes, we just wanted to take a moment to recognize Michael, who has spent the past year serving as an intern for the town of Waxhaw. Michael has been a tremendous asset to our team, not just in the business development department. He has jumped in wherever he was needed, worked hard, learned a lot, and became a valued part of our town family. It has been a pleasure working with him and watching him grow over the past year. We're incredibly proud of him as he takes this next step and heads off to college. Michael, we are going to miss you, having you around, but we are excited to see where life takes you. Thank you for everything you have contributed to the town of Waxhaw, and please know that we will always consider you part of the family. Congratulations, Michael, and best of luck in college.
And for those of you who don't know Michael, which it's probably very few people, I almost forgot he wasn't an intern. I thought he worked here. He's been here so long. But we wish you the best of luck. And he's doing great things with his nonprofit Action for Good. Look it up. He's really giving back to the community. Along with the Eagle Scouts, I wanted to thank them as well. It's a great use of contributing to the town park, and that's really what community is all about. And when people think of Waxhaw, that's what they think of. So thank you all.
I've always been impressed with how Michael just seemed to pop up everywhere. I don't know how many events I saw him, not just town events, but just all around the county. So he's been a real fixture, and I just can't imagine how much he's learned. And to know that he's taken that with him is going to be really cool. So keep in touch, Mike. All righty. Next up, we would like to kick off our public hearing about the imposing of a proposed moratorium on the construction and development of data centers. Can I get a motion to open this public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
This public hearing is now open. I'll just kick it off by making one thing as clear as I could possibly make it. There is not and has not been any discussions of or intentions to build a data center within Waxhaw, or as far as I know, on this side of the county. This is something we're doing preemptively. You're seeing it in Charlotte at the state level, and many, many other municipalities have discussed and taken on this topic of imposing some kind of restrictions around data centers, and a lot of those restrictions have sort of started with a moratorium. The purpose of this moratorium is to give us time to develop the law, time to write the LDC the way it needs to be written to ensure our community is protected in the future. So this is not something that's happening tomorrow. We don't have a file filled with applications looking for people desperate to build data centers. That's not what has happened. This is us being proactive and preemptive with our activities. So, anything else to add, Kevin, before we kick this off? All righty. So there's no formal presentation. Again, this is just a moratorium to put a halt on things, so we don't really have anything to present in terms of what we think the law would be, what we think the law should look like. And a part of this public hearing is going to be us getting the opinions of the people. We're going to listen to you all tonight, hear what you have to say, and it will be part of our consideration as we draft and rewrite some of the laws within the LDC, our Land Development Code. So we're going to optimize the code a little bit, and we're going to take to heart some of the stuff you have to say. So we'll get started by just calling off some of the folks that have signed up for our public comments in this public hearing regarding data centers. I'm not sure which one to start with. I'll start with this one. Yes.
Do the public comments after the summary of what
Did we have a summary?
Bring. Yes, we do. Yeah, we do. There is one. Mm-hmm.
Who has the summary? Mr. Kevin, you have the summary? Yes.
It's just on. There you go. I think you summarized it pretty well, Mayor. There's not a whole lot else to it. So this is for public hearing for ordinance 2026014, data centers and similar land uses. This is intended to address large data center related complexes that are rapidly growing in North Carolina. They do require large amounts of land, and there are significant concerns with their impacts, be it noise, heat, lighting, utilities, etc. The town's current LDC definitions for server farms are not really up to date, not really designed to locate these and mitigate their potential impacts. The state is looking right now at a few different bills to find a good way to address these, but we don't know what the outcome of that's going to be. And really, Waxhaw is just kind of following along with about 30 other different local jurisdictions in the state that is growing on a monthly basis that have passed either text amendments or local zoning, local moratoriums to give time to do that. And that kind of shows where we're at. These are moratoriums. You can see the vast majority of them are for a 365-day moratorium, so that is the most common type that's done. This will not ban data centers. What this would do would pause approvals of new data centers, data processing facilities, cryptocurrency mining, and other similar primary uses on properties within Waxhaw's incorporated town limits for 12 months. And as you mentioned, this will allow staff and the board to comply with any changes in state law that arise, to research actual impacts of these land uses, to propose some changes, and then to provide time for public feedback and for the elected officials, for y'all to hear proposed changes and decide on the best course of action to take. So if adopted tonight following this public hearing, the moratorium would be in effect until August 10th of next year, or until the adoption of an amended land use ordinance to address these uses, or until further action ending or continuing the moratorium by the board, whichever one of those comes first.
Any questions or comments from the board at this time? Please.
Mayor, members of the board, and residents, I want to offer a perspective on this issue that begins with some personal responsibility. Before serving on this board, I spent several years as a citizen volunteer on the Waxhaw Planning Board. In 2020, we undertook an extensive review that led to the Waxhaw Land Development Code as we know it today. At that time, we understood server farms was a very different than what we are discussing, the campus-like data centers that are being built today. I did not anticipate how rapidly the industry would change in 2021 when we reviewed it. The scale at which data centers have amassed are completely different. I own that. Responsible government isn't about pretending old decisions anticipate every change that would follow. It is about recognizing when circumstances have changed and being willing to respond. Today's large-scale data centers can bring significant demands on electricity, cooling, and other utility resources, along with real questions about infrastructure, noise, land use, and the compatibility with the surrounding developments that we know and love as Waxhaw today. I also recognize that many of our residents are concerned. You've seen what happens in other communities and are wondering what that would mean for Waxhaw as we consider this moratorium today. Whether I was still serving on the planning board, sitting in the audience as a resident, or sitting here as a commissioner, my recommendation would be the same. Place the temporary moratorium on this issue. The moratorium is a commitment to do the work before we make a decision with any lasting consequences for this community, to clearly understand the infrastructure, utility, environmental, noise, and land use implications considered and how it matches with our Waxhaw long-term vision, and determining what standards and limitations fit our community. There are also larger principles at stake here I want to be direct about, because I think it's important for the people in this room that haven't followed as of lately what has been taking place with our greater state government, because local control matters. Last year, our state legislation and representatives passed Senate Bill 382. Buried inside it was a change that stripped municipalities, including this very town, like Waxhaw, of its ability to downzone property without its owner's consent. In plain terms, if a piece of land is zoned for a use like a data center, which currently none are at this time, and there are no applications before us, as the mayor has said. But our residents deserve clear understanding to think about what it means and what implications would take place. I encourage everyone in this room to look up how your own representatives voted. And that's why I also support the current legislation, House Bill 24, to restore that authority and downzoning ability with your local municipal services. I believe we need to keep pushing our state legislators to give that authority back. This is not being anti-development or disregarding property owner rights. It's about a balance. It's about making sure that people who live in the community and the representatives they elect keep real voices in shaping the community's future. When circumstances change, good government should have the humility to acknowledge it, the responsibility to understand it, and the courage to act upon it. That is why this moratorium is reasonable and gives us the opportunity to do just that work. And that's why I also encourage each of one of you to go and understand the implications that have taken place with our state legislators and how we have been handcuffed by making actual decisions that impact us to date. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ferris. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention another bill that passed recently, HB 162. It's unfortunately more top-down governance from our state government. It handcuffs, again, local governments from regulating parking spaces for new developments. So now statewide, we can't regulate parking spaces whatsoever on any new projects that come in. So the market will decide, but potentially inadequate parking could be supplied and the burden to fall on surrounding streets. So I certainly support your sentiments there, Commissioner Ferris.
I'm just going to say one last thing and very quickly, because we want to get this going. There's a lot of people here that want to talk. But I would like to say there is hope. So to thank Representative David Willis and Dean Arp, they have proposed a bill, House Bill 170, that would bring that back. So let's give credit where credit is due, and we thank Dean Arp and David Willis for that. And hopefully we get it done. So call on that. Ask them that you want that passed. It's there, it's up there, but just got to get it through. So there is hope out there.
Thank you, thank you. Anyone else? Alrighty, well, let's go ahead and kick off the public comments portion of this meeting. We'll start with E.B. Withrall. Yes. No worries. Okay. Ben Levinson?
Do I have a time limit? 3 minutes. Honorable members of the board, my name is Benjamin Levinson, and I'm speaking on behalf of Lavinia, a charitable group across the Carolinas and the United States focusing on environmental causes, humanitarian actions, and striving to protect the people of the areas that we are in. The time of action is now, because when a data center comes, it will already be too late. Today, you decide what kind of Waxhaw you want. On one hand, you can give us a Waxhaw where you can go outside and breathe in the fresh air, lay down on the well-watered grass, and look up at the stars with your family and friends as wildlife roam through the trees and forests that tower overhead. On the other, you have a Waxhaw filled with smog, where you cough every time you step outside, where the stars are no longer visible at night, and where water shortages run rampant as the trees are plowed and birds no longer chirp. For one data center, Harvard School of Health estimates anywhere from $53 million to $93 million in health damages to the local population, and 3.4 to 6.5 additional premature deaths every year. Currently, Waxhaw has around 20,000 citizens. One data center can take up as much water as 50,000 citizens. Training a single AI model can emit more than 626,000 pounds of carbon dioxide, equivalent to nearly 5 times the lifetime emissions of the average American car, which includes the manufacturer of the car itself. In 2024, the electricity generation for global data centers produced approximately 182 million tons of CO2 emissions and was responsible for 560 billion liters of water consumption. In the wise words of Kaz Chu-Foon, British youth activist, when the last tree is cut down, the last fish eaten, and the last stream poisoned, you will realize that you cannot eat money. I'm not only thinking about the Waxhaw of today, but I'm thinking about the Waxhaw of tomorrow and Waxhaw in 20 years. If you want to protect these people, serve these people, as you are supposed to as public servants, then you will pass this moratorium, and you will not allow companies to destroy what our ancestors have spent the last 100 years building. The people say no to data centers. Thank you.
Next up, Courtney Moneymaker.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and I'm really nervous to be here. I'm here because I have a 3-year-old and an 11-year-old, and it's important to me that they have clean air to breathe and clean water to drink. I'm here also as a care provider of adults with developmental and physical disabilities for the last 15 years. More currently, now I just work with scheduling care providers in them. I'll bring that up because I just had to defend my job against a proposal of an AI bot coming in and doing the work for me. So glad my company is sticking strong with us and was like, no, we're not gonna do that. Thank you, Abound Health. All right, back to why I'm here. Data centers are no good. Excuse the poor posters. They're made really fast, but you can see people, clean air, and water are greater than data centers. Just say no to data centers. We all remember that slogan, just say no. That's all we have to do. We know that data centers take up our electricity. They are going to put a strain on our grid. I don't know about most of you, but me and my husband, we also are business owners here in town of Waxhaw. We have a little vintage store downtown going on almost 5 years. But I just want to see the future of Waxhaw be greater. And I'm losing my train of thought. Sorry, I'm not prepared. But yes, back to the resources. We know that data centers consume up to 2 million gallons of water per day. And that's too much. And it's because it evaporates. It's not a return cycle. It's nothing they're reusing. This is gone. This is gone. And I just drove back today from Chimney Rock, North Carolina. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to go there since Helene back in 2024. This was my first time. And to see the devastation and destruction that water can cause was eye-opening. And I just don't want to see the devastation and destruction that the lack of water is going to cause. So again, thank you for your time. Thank you all for your consideration and voting for the ban. I say banned. 12 months would be great. I ask of you to push for a ban entirely forever. We never need data centers. People are greater than data centers. Thank you so much for your time, and have a good night.
Thank you, Courtney. Mr. Alan Previtt.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I worked with Duke Energy, retired engineer for 45 years. Had the opportunity to do a lot of advanced work and stuff that goes on, that has gone on, and it was a very good job. That's why I stayed for 45 years. There are 97 data centers already in North Carolina. You have to realize that's a lot of data centers. Now, these are not necessarily what you would call massive data centers like some of the ones that's being proposed. These are corporate data centers more than anything else. Having worked with Duke, we had our own data center. We had a redundant data center at Lake Norman up at McGuire, and we also had a separate, another data center that was remote that was in Houston. When you're running a utility, you have a franchise to serve, and you have to get the system back up very quick. So if you have an outage, it's very important that you have the data to do it. Also, I have children that are physicians and also have done research on various things. And I will say this, is that data centers with a lot of data at the universities, at the various corporations, they provide a lot of wealth of information to be able to do diagnostic techniques that are there. So there's good things with data centers and there's bad things. You'll see a lot of them on TV and advertisements and stuff, much more than you're going to see in realistic everyday business. Now, is Waxhaw a good fit for a data center? No, I don't think so. First thing is we're talking about energy and electricity. I worked in the high voltage section, and the thing is that you'll notice that most of the big data centers along transmission lines are very close to them. The data center that's going up above Morris Chapel Road, or right off Morris Chapel Road, they're paying for the system substation to be able to tap a 230 line. We only have one delivery off a 230 line. They're basically what we call a transmission network. So all the distribution around here, none of that's going to carry a data center of any size, especially the ones you read about. The ones that are going in various other places, they are along transmission lines. The one that was in Matthews is along a transmission facility. What you see is a situation that those data centers are consuming a tremendous amount of power. And the thing is most people don't realize what those numbers mean. But just to give you an idea, the data center over at Matthews that was proposed was 600 megawatts. That's half of the output of one of the units at McGuire or Catawba. That's a lot of power, okay? The new ones that are being proposed, and there's an energy tariff that Microsoft has proposed to not only the Duke, but the North Carolina, to be able to increase the charge for energy. So that way, there's a lot of proactive stuff there, and a lot of companies more than willing to pay for the infrastructure to be able to supply the energy for these things. The other problem is lack of water. Right now, everybody that's in here probably gets your water, might not know it, from Lancaster County. Western part of Union County has very little surface water and very little water to be able to use for water distribution systems.
Thank you.
It now comes from Lancaster County, right off of Rebound Road, right off of Highway 5.
Thank you. We're going to try to get everybody tonight.
And
so
they're currently
that'll hold you
under
to 3
a
minutes.
drought mandate, at least they were earlier in the week, or last week, which restricted use of water.
Thank you.
There's not enough of water that's going to be able to cool these things.
Yep. We're going to try to hold everybody to 3 minutes so we can give
Anyway,
everybody a chance to speak.
So
thank you for your
those are two
comments.
big things. You're not going to be able to supply it because we don't have the infrastructure here to do it.
Thank you. Alrighty, next up we have Sophia Wang.
Greetings to Mayor Robert Murray III and the council members of the Waxhaw Town Hall. My name is Sophia Wang. I am a high school student and I have lived in the Waxhaw area for most of my life. To me, the case at hand today isn't regarding the potential benefits of artificial intelligence. While the argument about the place of AI in our society is a useful one, it is not relevant to the discussion at hand. Individuals living in Waxhaw can use AI regardless of the presence of a data center in our town. Instead, today's town hall should focus specifically on the effects of data centers and the consequences of building one in the town of Waxhaw. You might ask, how might data centers affect me? Well, let's put it this way. The average Waxhaw household pays about $250 per month in electricity and water bills. And yet, data centers affect all of us through the devastation they wreak on our power grids and water supplies. By examining a report from the U.S. Energy Information Administration, we see that residential energy prices rose by 11.5% in 2025 when compared to past years, with the report noting data centers specifically as a major contributor to this increase. Looking to the future, researchers predict that they will skyrocket even further, increasing by up to 40% by 2030. This means that what could have been a $250 monthly bill in 2025 might become a $350 bill in 2030, if not more, as a direct result of data centers. Another Environmental Protection Agency estimate finds that a data center could use up to 5 million gallons of water daily, the equivalent of up to 16,000 American households. Now, while we might not have the exact equivalent to the increase in bills this number may signal, we ask you, council members, to think about the droughts we've had in the Carolinas. Earlier this year, Union County Water enacted Stage 2 water restrictions, requiring residents reduce spray irrigation systems to twice a week and requested residents reduce and reuse water for daily household tasks. In fact, data from this spring breaks some records in North Carolinian history. According to meteorologist Amy Wilmoth, 2026 is the driest year on record so far for the Raleigh-Durham area. But that's not all. Reports from Mansfield, Georgia cite water literally turning brown from data center sediment. Council members, this moratorium protects residents of the town of Waxhaw from encountering further unnecessary droughts. It protects us from having to continue to ration our water. It protects us from future environmental devastation in our own town. Council members, you may hear arguments during this hearing claiming that a data center will create new jobs in the Waxhaw area. This argument is entirely untrue. Let me refute this claim now. While the construction of a data center might require some temporary staffing, once built, this number decreases dramatically. According to the official data centers mapping website, an average-sized data center employs just about 15 to 35 people. Simply put, there is no benefit a data center may provide to the town of Waxhaw. As I close my speech, I urge you, the elected officials of Waxhaw, to instate this moratorium on data centers. I am a student. I care about the issues around me, and it scares me most when forces beyond my control threaten my livelihood. I do not want to live in a world where rationing water becomes the norm. I do not want to live in a world where my parents are overwhelmed by utility bills. I do not want to raise my children in a world where all water is tinted with sediment. I do not want my friends, family, neighbors, and strangers who live in a world that was brought upon them against their wills. Council members, you can protect us, our parents, and those who will come after us by preventing this ecological calamity. I thank everyone here for your time.
Thank you, Sophia. Well stated. We have a Linda Bowen.
Hello. I don't have as much detailed notes as the others, but I thank you that you all do. I just want to bring out, well, first I want to thank you that you're taking advanced work to keep a data center from here. I want to remind everybody, we love little Waxhaw. The clean air, the quiet, the adequate water, but may I remind you, we've been in a drought now for years. As a utility customer, my water bill keeps going up and up and up. Data centers take massive amounts of water. But I think something that's been it has been mentioned, but not quite as often, is the noise. In these other small communities where they've moved in, they say it's destroyed the community, the noise. Now, I don't want to live in Charlotte because it's a noisy city. I live in Waxhaw, as someone mentioned. I can hear the birds, and it's pleasant. But the noise level, I don't know how far out it goes from the data center, but everything I hear is it's pretty bad. So thank you for taking advanced work and for doing the diligence that we'll need to keep these sorts of things from our little community. Thank you each.
Thank you, Linda. Next up, James Withrow.
Hi, everyone. My name is James Withrow. I'm here representing my parents, Bruce and Libby Withrow. I'm a cybersecurity expert. Yes, I said expert for the past 4 years. I have audited data centers, Google, Oracle, Amazon, you name it, Insight Global. And there are two things that we really need to focus on. I do agree with a moratorium. I would propose an entire ban, and that's because there are two types of data centers, closed loop and open loop. Our friend here was referring to closed loop. What that is on-premises data centers that do not use the resources of a public community. Open loop is what takes away from our community resources, and with no financial restitution or really any opposition when it comes down to it, it bleeds the community dry, and then to simply file bankruptcy and leave with destruction in the wake. And that's really a part of the problem here. And we've gone from a society of people over profit to profit over people, and I encourage a complete ban. I know that's probably not realistic, but a lot of people here with the data and the statistics, they've really taken the wind out of my sails with my complete argument. But I would encourage the community to preserve the historical nature of this community, and by having a data center in the area, it's not going to do that. It'll destroy the community. It would completely deplete the natural resources. And the water seepage is also a big issue. My parents live on a farm pond. The water table will have materials in it that have never been seen before. And in addition to that, they're talking about new bacteria from open loop data centers that have not been seen before that are affecting communities far and wide. So the problem that I see in the whole profit over people is that these corporations that come in, they have the moral backbone of a jellyfish. So they do not care. They may come in and say that they want to propose a closed loop system. That is not true. All of these Fortune 500 companies that I've gone and audited and assessed for their cybersecurity programs, they have on-premises data centers because they don't deplete the natural resources around them. They are closed loop. When you have open loop, and it's co-located in not an area around their headquarters, they do not care about the land around it. They do not care about the people around it, as we have seen a lot of people bring those statistics to the floor. So all I'm here to encourage is, a moratorium, if not a complete ban, preserving the historical nature of this community, and in addition, let's swing the pendulum back to people over profit. I mean, why can't we get back to that? That's why we're in this situation in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Ms. Carol Volcom.
Good evening. I just want to preface this by saying the following points touched upon are based on research pulled from scholarly studies and government and public data sources. No AI was utilized. One of my primary concerns involves the carrying out of proper sound studies. Will these developers conduct a low frequency and infrasound assessment, not just a standard A-weighted decibel reading? We don't want just the standard decibel study that developers usually submit. Regular sound meters aren't built to capture infrasound, the frequencies below 20 hertz, which are below the normal limit of human hearing. I want to stress that high intensity and prolonged exposure to these low frequencies can cause increased cortisol levels, vertigo, nausea, ear pain, hypertension, and insomnia, among other things. Infrasound exposure influences multiple physiological systems, including cardiovascular, vestibular, and neural pathways. And when we have neighbors with chronic pain, inflammation, and autoimmune diseases, this becomes a public health concern. I also worry about the health of our community's children and how prolonged exposure to this and the center's pollutants would affect their development. Another point for us to look into is what setback distance from residential property would proposals require? Would they be based on any acoustic modeling? Additionally, although studies on this are still in their infancy, data centers are being found to raise the temperature in surrounding areas by a few degrees. Data centers reject massive amounts of heat associated with the energy they consume. A single, relatively modest 36 megawatt data center rejects heat equivalent to the electricity consumption of roughly 40,000 homes. Heat pollution from data centers can boost air temperatures in downwind neighborhoods by as much as 4 degrees Fahrenheit. We can't deny that there's an environmental impact here. As we have been experiencing longer heat and dry spells, if we allow these centers to infiltrate our areas, expect the possibility of even hotter summers and higher Duke Energy bills. And a side note, most jobs created around data centers are rooted in the construction of them, not their ongoing operations. So no, the creation of these facilities will not create any long-term local job booms. I strongly oppose the addition of these data centers in our community. The negative environmental impacts far outweigh any slight positives, if any, such facilities would bring. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Next up, I think this is Silip Wright. Anyone, Mr. or Miss Wright?
Mr. Wright?
Yes, Wright. Sorry.
I was going to politely back out tonight. 3 or 4 of my major concerns have already been addressed. That's fine. Some of you might recognize me, some of you may not. Most of you probably don't. I used to work with the town of Waxhaw quite a bit. We still have a lot of projects that have never been finished. We don't need any more. Or we're going to save the town we have while we can. So, data, no. Getting Waxhaw finished, keeping the town going, yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lastly, we have Patricia Jones.
Everybody said most of the same thoughts that I've had. Copious amounts of water, copious amounts of power, and they usually want some type of subsidies, electrical bill hikes. Taxpayers pay for that. So it's basically corporate welfare is what it is. So anyone opposed to data centers, I would suggest you divest yourself from the people behind this. That's Microsoft, that's Facebook, that's this small group that's pushing AI-powered economy. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the voice of the public, and all of this is definitely something we will be considering as we move forward in the next year, figuring out what to put in our LDC regarding data centers. As far as looking for an all-out ban, that's what we will be looking at as well. I guarantee you that. Madam Pro Tem, what do you have?
I was just going to say, I know a lot of you mentioned a ban, and that would mean removing it from our LDC, and right now, the state is not allowing us to do that. But, like I said, HB 170 and HB 24 would reverse that, at least for Union County, and we do have representatives trying to push that through. So if that's what you want, we have to leave it up to you. We're working with them, they're listening, so you need to help us out there if that's what you truly want. That's the only thing we can ask you to do. 170, HB 170, I just wrote them down, I'm sorry. HB 170 and HB 24. Yeah, I'll post about it, yeah.
That sounds good.
Mayor.
Alrighty, any other
Excuse
comments?
me, Mayor. There is one comment that came in late. She would like
Yes.
to make it.
Sure.
I was going to pass too because everybody's addressed it. But I first want to just thank you all so much for taking this step forward to consider the potential of a ban and at least putting in place a moratorium. Like everyone else has said here, as a resident of Waxhaw, I don't think it's hyperbole to say I'm terrified of what it may do to our environment here, our quality of life of our neighbors, whether it's in my backyard or across town. The health impacts that we're starting to see in other communities, and of course, the water. Union County has had historically for a very long time with growth, a difficulty with enough water, right? We've been in bans forever. So thank you so much for considering it, and I am one of the voices of, I hope you can find a way to completely ban. Thank you.
Ma'am.
Hi, I just want to say one thing. I asked back there if I could also say something. And they said you would ask if there are any other speakers, but no one asked that yet, so I thought I'd just come up here. Can I?
No, that's fine.
Can I say
Go
something?
ahead.
Okay. So this is again related to the moratorium. I just wanted to voice what I thought about this. So Waxhaw.
Excuse me, ma'am, would you state your name for the record, please?
Yes,
so we can get it on record.
Yes.
Thanks.
I'm Edvika Ayla. I'm a student here at Marvin Ridge High School in Waxhaw, North Carolina. And I'm speaking on the moratorium because in the 16, 17 years I've lived in Waxhaw, ever since I was younger, I've seen this town change. My father's actually a real estate agent, so he's been to a few of these. I've been to a few of these, and I've always liked seeing how the board works and how people represent their opinions. So I thought when I saw this come up that I had to speak on it. With the rise of data centers, I think this is an important topic. So I wanted to say that Waxhaw is a historically nuanced city. The roots of our values of keeping from dramatic change is deeply engraved in our community. Waxhaw is known for our sprawling neighborhoods, our growing number of businesses, and are focusing on cultivating the spirit of a small town. For this, I believe no height limit on buildings or distance from residential property will capture Waxhaw's need for distance from the rising number of data centers. However, in the 800 data centers constructed in the last year, over 60% were constructed in smaller towns. Even as a town passing this moratorium, we cannot escape from the growing number of data centers. We will likely face data centers being constructed in nearby towns or nearby cities. Charlotte recently passed a moratorium at the beginning of this summer, and as it approaches its end, they have instructed about 15-member council to advise on decision-making for after the moratorium's over, and I really hope that Waxhaw seeks to do the same. I believe that even if we keep data centers from our homes, from our businesses, there will be data centers surrounding us. So for the people, for the businesses in here, we try to make we try to place these limits on here, so even if it's around us, close to us, we do not see the effects as much. So thank you. I'm glad that this moratorium is brought up. I'm glad to hear that there are people speaking on it. Thank you.
Thank you. All righty. Anything else from the board at this time? Comment. Please.
Yeah, like the earlier speaker, I've worked in IT for many years, and one thing that has been consistent is that computers keep getting smaller and smaller. And so I think these large footprint data centers are going to be obsolete one day, and we're going to be left with a bunch of junk and a bunch of unusable land, perhaps. And I think part of the support that some people have for these data centers is the awe that they have for what AI can do, but compute power is just a tool, and that should always be subordinate to human welfare, and it needs to proceed in a way that is in balance with human welfare. So thank you, everybody who spoke up.
Mr. Mayor, please.
Simply put, this is your town, it's also your home. And I really appreciate seeing everybody coming out here and using the process to let your voice be heard. So thank you very much.
All righty.
Everybody's looking at me to speak. I haven't spoken yet.
No, you don't have to if you don't want to.
I want to echo the sentiments of Commissioner Delio, that having everyone show up for occasions like this. I wish we could get together on more auspicious occasions, but for something like this, it's really important that y'all show up and have your voices heard. It's not cliche. Just exactly what Commissioner Delio said. It's really great to hear everybody use the process, speak their mind. All of that is well said. Everybody was very articulate and very well versed in data center, what the pros and cons are, and mostly the cons. We take all your comments to heart, and I think that if we do this with a lot of thought and some help from the General Assembly, we'll be able to protect what we have in Waxhaw, what we all cherish. So thanks again for coming out, and really admire everybody's ability to speak articulate on the subject matter.
Well, thank you, Commissioners. I appreciate the words to the people and to each other. It's good collaboration. It's good input. One thing I'll add, I stumbled on a factoid several years ago, and as it relates to data centers, one of the things that we all need to be mindful of is our own behavior and how they may or may not be contributing to data centers. The factoid I picked up several years ago was that global cloud services, oh, my music's on the cloud, my picture's in the cloud. Global cloud services consume as much electricity as the nation of Japan. So just having these things in our pockets at ready demand, it creates the demand for this type of stuff. So think about how your behavior, your consumer choices impact some of this stuff, because it does have an impact. I'll just throw that out there. Anyway, go ahead. Thank you. So without further ado, can I get a motion to close this public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This public hearing is now closed. Thank you again for all your input. Invaluable. Thank you. All righty. Next up, we will go ahead and make a decision regarding the adoption of Ordinance 2026-014, imposing a proposed moratorium for data centers. Did we need to speak on this from Kevin, or are we ready to vote on this?
You're good to go ahead and.
All right.
and,
The
uh,
one
vote on.
question I had was, since we're doing the vote on the same night as the public hearing, do we need to have any kind of action to suspend our rules?
That was done in the work session. Yeah, we voted on that in the work session.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and the main reason for doing it is because we want to make sure we don't get caught unprepared. So implementing this immediately, I think, is a key aspect of making sure we don't get unprepared.
Right.
We're not caught unprepared, so. Alrighty, can I get a motion to adopt ordinance 2026-014, imposing a proposed moratorium on data centers?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this motion carries. So stay tuned. There'll be some new rules in the LDC or a continuation. We'll see what we can do. We'll be work session this. We have a whole year to work on it. We'll be working with our legal team. We'll be working with our state partners as well, trying to come up with something that really does protect the town and charm of Waxhaw. Thank you. Alrighty, next up, you're very welcome. Next up, we have the CARPO 2026 Fall Project Applications. Mr. James Kelly, come on down.
Good evening, James Kelly, Assistant Town Engineer with the Town of Waxhaw. Tonight we are bringing this item back to the board for further discussion. The ask this evening is to provide staff with direction on how the board would like to proceed or not proceed with available funding options and grant applications for the CRTPO. So for those that may be unaware or may have missed the last board workshop meeting, the CRTPO stands for the Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization, and Waxhaw is a member of that organization. The CRTPO receives direct attributable or DA funds to be allocated to member jurisdictions, projects based on a competitive basis. And that annual fall call is happening right around the corner here, actually next week. So the annual fall call consists of three primary items, either new discretionary transportation capital projects or supplemental fund requests for existing CRTPO projects and new planning study projects such as feasibility studies. This fall call supports projects that improve the community's transportation system across different project categories, those including highway, bicycle and pedestrian transit, air quality improvements, and transportation planning. We talked about this last time during the board work session. Projects must meet these eligibility criterion, those being federal aid eligibility, being on the federal aid system map, or communicating or being deemed by NCDOT and the Federal Highway Administration that the project can be added to the federal aid system map. Furthermore, you must have an adopted plan that shows whatever improvements you want to make. And of course, the eligible activities as a part of these grants are projects such as planning projects, which include feasibility studies, corridor study projects, design projects, anything involving right-of-way acquisition and construction. And furthermore, which is likely the easiest one to meet, is it must have a simple problem and solution. Projects must address an identified need and provide a highly effective solution to the transportation problem. Also, municipalities and member jurisdictions must have a minimum match committed to projects, that minimum match being 20%. And as we'll go throughout this presentation, the board will learn that that match is becoming more competitive and an increased local match is really required to be competitive at the CRTPO level because you're competing with other member jurisdictions, including Charlotte, Mecklenburg counties, and Union County and Iredell counties. So as far as timeline, the reason why we're asking this is because next week on August 17th, the fall call opens for new projects and shortfalls on existing projects. So we're seeking your direction this evening on what path you would like to take. And then our goal to staff is to bring this back to you by the end of October, before those applications are due, for a final resolution and support for the projects that you submit or don't submit. Moving forward from there, the process goes to the TCC, which stands for Technical committee, the technical committee of CRTPO, which includes your CRTPO staff. And basically, the staff helps to score these projects based upon the adopted CRTPO Discretionary Grants Program Policy Guide. The TCC then works to develop a recommended project list based upon this criterion scoring metrics and present that to the board at January meeting for information, and then ultimately to request action come February of next year. Assuming that you are awarded a grant application, we then must go through a STIP amendment process, or the State Transportation Improvement Program amendment process in February. That is sent to DOT to complete in March and April. So that's the general timing of the overall program. So as far as total active projects, the CRTPO has over 121 active projects, 3 of those being within Waxhaw as far as the CRTPO projects, those including the Kensington Drive improvements, which is in the construction phase right now, the Broome Street improvements, and Helms Road extension, which are both in design as of right now. So as far as funding availability for this fiscal year, there's approximately $52 million in funds available spread over various fiscal years. Majority of those funds being, of course, in FY31, so the further you get out from now, the more funding there is available. There is a catch, and you have to abide by these award caps for the various funding categories. So for planning projects, the maximum really award is $500,000. For highway projects, is 25% of the available funds of that 80% total, so $10.37 million. And for non-highway projects, $2.59 million are those award caps per project funding category. As I said before, the typical 20% match is really no longer cutting it when it comes to being competitive, except for planning projects. So planning projects are capped at that 20%, so you get the most bang for your buck with those planning projects. On highway projects, we're finding over the past few years that those are ranging to over a 40% local match is required to be competitive, and non-highway projects are averaging over 30% local match to be competitive. So the board discussed 2 primary projects during its workshop. So we're providing some more details and also incorporating the board's feedback and really just doing a gut check to make sure that we're capturing what you all are seeking or not seeking. For example, in this category, the planning category, it would be a corridor study for the Waxhaw Parkway East project. The estimated total cost of that study would be about $300,000. With that said, the match breakdown is an 80-20 split, so the town would only really be responsible for $60,000, and I'll just note that's really funded over 2 years, so about $30,000 per year. The remaining share, the remaining $240,000, will be funded by the state and federal folks. Rationale for conducting an additional corridor study. You know, we have several critics out there. It's like, why do we study this again? What's causing the change? Well, there was a significant change. There was a significant federal change considering the adjusted urban area boundary. So evaluating this project, considering that updated boundary, it now allows for a new design speed instead of the previously required 50-mile-per-hour design speed. What this means is it provides an opportunity to optimize the roadway's horizontal and vertical alignments with the potential to reduce or eliminate impacts to existing homes. So this basically means that some of the alternatives that we could not consider before due to restrictions, we could now consider because they're mathematically possible. In addition, it would examine multiple alignment alternatives while incorporating additional public and stakeholder input to identify the most optimized corridor. So this includes stakeholders regionally, locally, state level, and the federal level as well. And from your discussion on the July 28th workshop, some notable points are that what we heard is that you're looking for about 3 to 5 key corridor alternatives, and you want to prioritize alignments that remain solely within the town of Waxhaw's jurisdictional limits. Furthermore, you want to minimize impacts to existing and established neighborhoods and avoid alternatives that adversely affect historical downtown buildings, as these are non-starter options. In addition, the board noted to emphasize the segment solely between Providence Road, or NC-16, and Waxhaw Indian Trail Road. while considering this as a future standalone project to improve future funding competitiveness. Did we capture that accurately?
Yes.
Yeah, just for clarification too, that we want to ensure that Providence to Waxhaw Indian Trail isn't really a part of this study. We kind of know that exists. We know where some of the hiccups are. So we want something a little different.
Great, thank you. The other project that was brought forth, just because it's likely to score very well, is the Kensington Drive multi-use path project. There is a larger price tag on this one. The total estimated project cost is estimated to be approximately $4.2 million. And that's projected over the course of the project. So that is including contingencies, that's including inflation factors, escalation factors, that sort of thing. So it is an all-inclusive number. The downside is the Town of Waxhaw local match would have to be $1.7 million because we would have to be at that 40% because the state and federal cap on this is $2.59 million. So to make the numbers work there from a financial perspective, you would have to be at that 40% local match. I will note, though, that if you choose to go forward with this project, majority of that funding, approximately $1.3 million of the $1.7, is really not scheduled to be performed until the construction phase, which is estimated in fiscal year 2031. So I'll note that that $1.7 million will be funded over 5 years, with the majority of that being funded at the very end as a part of construction. So that's something to consider. Overall project benefits, this extends the already programmed Kensington Drive improvements, or EB 5950, that are currently underway, from Connells Point Avenue to Waxhaw Marvin Road, completing a continuous pedestrian connection. In addition, this connects the Millbridge, Quellen, Cureton, and surrounding areas with a safer and more accessible multi-use path and pedestrian bridge. Furthermore, it reconstructs the roadway to address existing super elevation deficiencies while improving multimodal connectivity. So what I mean by there is we get the question a lot of times is why is that road segment posted 35 miles per hour? Or posted 25, excuse me, and not of 35 miles per hour. It's because when the roadway was built several years ago, it has an inverse super elevation from what it should be, or a bank in the roadway. So this project would address that, ultimately allowing the road to be adjusted to a posted 35 miles per hour condition. Furthermore, it builds on a previous CRTPO application that scored competitively, but fell just below the funding threshold. And this next bit of information is just information on what caused that funding just below the threshold. So staff did submit, I think it was the 2023 fall call year, a previous application for this project, which fell just 5 points below the funding threshold requirement. The project did not have support, unfortunately, from the former Quellen HOA leadership regarding potential right-of-way needs, resulting in a loss of about 10 application points from the project. So we fell just under the funding threshold on that. From what I'm hearing, it sounds like there may be a change. There may be a desire for this project, from what I'm hearing, which is for your discussion. So with those points, the project would have actually been competitive for funding during that cycle, and it would have been awarded during that cycle. Since the previous application, obviously project costs have increased, underscoring the importance of strong stakeholder support in order to have a competitive application. And then, of course, just some notes from the board discussion from July 28th, 2026. There were concerns regarding the overall project cost and the required 40% local match, that $1.7 million. And the board also talked about considering the town's existing commitments that we already have to several active capital projects and the potential award of an additional Safe Streets and Roads for All grant that's potential later this year, November, December timeline, making funding capacity a key consideration. The board also noted a need to weigh the project's transportation and connectivity benefits against the town's current and anticipated financial commitments. So did we capture that information correctly? Okay. So that really leads to board discussion on this. Staff is seeking feedback because we need to get moving forward on an application or perhaps not an application. But we've outlined a few options for the board to discuss this evening. Option A being to proceed with the Waxhaw Parkway East Corridor study only. Option B, proceeding with the Kensington multi-use path only. C, proceeding with both applications. D, proceeding with no applications. Or E, proceeding with another eligible or combination of eligible project applications. And again, I'll just note, like I've noted before, a future resolution will come back to the board at your October 13th, 2026 BOC meeting if the board does decide to proceed with a grant submission. So with that, happy to take any questions and turn it back over to you all.
And those resolutions, those would be two individual resolutions, correct, assuming we approve the pursuit of both of these?
Correct.
Understood. So each project has its own resolution. Any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Ferris?
James, can you help me? You said the timing would be 2031. And how does that sequence with our Helms Road extension west connecting into down over into Waxhaw Marvin? What's the timing look like?
That's a great question. So it would the 2031 element would only really apply to the Kensington project because the other project would only take about 2 years. To answer your question, though, the project for Helms Road extension is programmed to be completed FY 2030, so it would be the year prior to when construction funds for this project would be due.
Got it. So if we were to consider this, the Helms Road extension west tie-in would be a relief valve and function as a throughput while we worked on the Kensington Road. And I know that the sequencing of possible closures or limitations of how that road would be reconstructed, but we would have an ability to manage through that closure because of our Helms Road extension west.
Correct.
For me, I think we need to work on Parkway East. It's been a discussion for what I hear is like 30 or 40 years, a long time. And with the Helms Road extension, my dream would be to make that a truck route if we could. I mean, it's being built for fire trucks and that sort, so heavier trucks, if they're diverted to 75 that way, it's not eliminating all the traffic down 16, but it would help. And then if we can get Parkway East, or not Parkway East, I would say 16 Extension East.
East.
I think that would make some sense, and it would relieve in the short term some of that traffic to get to Wesley Chapel and that sort of thing. So I think I've been kind of saying this since I've been on the board. I'm sure you're tired of hearing it, James.
No, you're absolutely correct. One of the main things that we hear, especially from folks downtown, is the trucks, the noise from the trucks that come through and pass through, which is why with the Helms Road extension, we are designing to accommodate those truck movements.
And so I guess, my vote would be for the Parkway East. It's less money. It's something that we need. And with all the SS4A mitigations, I think other traffic will be alleviated with those improvements. And we are going to be spending money. Our match there is 20%.
Correct. So you're right. Assuming the SS4A grant is awarded to the town, which, knock on wood, let's hope it is, your match would only be 20%, which is a huge cost savings and projects that would be more cost effective with that funding model versus something like this.
Right. And so I feel like Kensington is getting addressed in part. We do hear complaints about the eastern side and traffic, diverting traffic that way. I think it just makes more sense to do that.
Correct.
And kind of put this to bed if we can.
Yes, and I will note that also, especially when you get further east, like towards Cuthbertson, or further west towards the elementary school there along Kensington, the board always has the option to explore options to adjust the speed limit for those segments of Kensington Road because there is no super elevation effects there. There are no super elevation effects there.
Is there a Kensington Drive alternative that doesn't include any road improvements or alterations?
There could be. So
Thus
you could
reducing the
limit the
costs
scope of the
potentially.
project. So you could.
And would that be just as eligible from a CARPO standpoint, or does that kind of move it into a different category? Because I know SS4A, we focused a lot on pedestrian and whatnot.
What we found in the last application is that a combination of both pedestrian and roadway to provide for that multimodal element proved to be the most, the best option as far as scoring. You can limit the scope, which will affect other elements, which will improve your cost effectiveness score, for example, but it may hinder your multimodal
Overall
element.
score.
Yeah.
Understood. Thank you. Commissioner Ferris?
I agree with your sentiment on where our prioritization needs to be. SS4A is very important. It brings vital connectivity and keeping that project prioritized, but I disagree with any form of abandonment of the Kensington Drive, and this is my reasoning. When NC-16 widening may or may not come, it will force large portions of the population to then seek alternative navigation, which will then push them either up towards Waxhaw Marvin and or further out towards 521. And to give our citizens the best logistical operations and flow to get to work from here, a suburb of South Charlotte, to get to work likely into Charlotte or navigate to 485, we need to continue to find ways to openly discuss that. I think that I understand the timing is not optimal at this moment. It doesn't mean it might not be next year. But at the same time, there are reasonablenesses to continue looking at how we can improve Kensington for traffic flow and internal circulation within Waxhaw. And I'm not ready to give up on that.
Yeah, I don't think that right, it would stay on the list, correct?
Correct. So
Of,
it is.
of our things to do list.
Right, it's
Okay.
always on your adopted transportation plan, so that's always on your plan to submit. And something that the board may consider is, when it comes to scoring, maybe you only want to submit for design only, or maybe you want to only submit for right-of-way and construction, or construction only. That also improves your score if you're able to progress the project to a point readiness for construction. In fact, it increases your score quite substantially if you already have design and right-of-way complete before you approach CRTPO.
Would that be an optionality before the end of this deadline for submittal to rescope to maybe just say design and right-of-way?
We could ask CRTPO that question. I don't know the question off the top of my head, but I think that's something that we could ask if the board wants to consider that option.
I think it's reasonable to consider it at a minimum.
And the primary concern, it sounds like, that we have a convergence of a lot of projects coming up in the next 3 to 5 years. Helms Road being obviously the most substantial, with over $4 million that will be owed. It sounds like that's the primary hesitation with jumping into the Kensington Drive multi-use path and redesign?
Yeah, I just think that we are right now, for me, I feel like we're focused like this, right? And I think that we have two options here. Kensington is being addressed, so it's not really being ignored. And I think that next year, maybe we could look at it, see where we are financially, see if we get the SS4A grant, and move slowly rather than hesitating on a vote tonight to get an answer, because then we have to wait. And that prevents you guys from starting the process of writing the grant and doing what you need to do. I mean, that's just my feeling. I feel like Kensington is getting addressed. It's not happening till 2031 anyway.
The easy part's getting addressed, the straightaway.
Right.
Just to Commissioner Ferris's point, you drive Kensington Road west of Providence, and you notice that it's almost necessary to fix that road because the banking is inverted. It's kind of a joke. It's an embarrassment to the town that we actually have to drive on a road that has inverted banking. It's crazy. And it's 25. People are scratching and clawing at their face to just drive faster down that road. We all get it.
Just want to get home.
But it's almost necessary to fix that road. But how necessary? And to Commissioner Wedger's point, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff that's more necessary. I do know that, to James' point, we are going to incur a large cost increase if we decide to do that project later. However, but back to the whole, we've got a lot of projects going on right now and we have to somehow fund these things. We can still drive on Kensington Road. We all got to be safe about it. That road will hold up if we keep the speed limit low. We keep this on the list. Let's do the Waxhaw Parkway East Corridor study, and then I think sometime in the very near future we give more thought to actually, and it gives people in the community some time to think about it, give their input. How badly do we want that road fixed? To me, I'd love to have it fixed because, of course, I drive it a lot, and it's kind of embarrassing to be driving on a road where you're like, who built this thing? It's just not right. So anyway, I agree with Commissioner Wedger's final assessment on our priorities. Really do agree with Commissioner Ferris's assessment as well, as that it's a necessary project, but in the interest of being fiscally responsible, we probably should hold off on that Kensington Road multi-use path.
Would it make sense then to request that we go ahead and proceed with the corridor study in the application, and then maybe we rescope item B, the Kensington Drive multi-use, rescope that to be just a design grant,
I think
and
that's
not so much the full bore?
Could try to keep as many things on the boil as possible. As you said, don't bring a complete halt to it, but just keep the ball rolling.
Yes,
percolating.
Definitely keep it percolating, to use the mayor's word. If it can be evaluated to be more bite-sized, essentially, at this moment, where it is designing right away, I think it's reasonable to consider. And I'll go back to this. I do agree that there is a lot on our plate. We are essentially using the Pepto-Bismol and to evaluate how we can best deploy our resources in a meaningful way. But yet at the same time too, I would hate to incur unnecessary costs by maybe a 2-year delay, or even a 1-year delay. As we've seen, inflation can creep, and all of a sudden that project now may be 10% more than necessary because we've delayed it a year. So that's why I wanted to bring up, let me correct my words. I don't think anybody here is abandoning that project. It's more of just how are we sequencing it, to use my earlier word. And if it could be evaluated to be rescoped, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, when I moved here, nobody used that road, not often. And now it's getting used.
Yeah. It gets used, and it gets used by pedestrians as well. I mean, I'm always seeing people walk there. So
right, which isn't safe in that area.
I think for a large bite project like this, we need a little more time because our town manager is being very helpful with helping us to wrap our heads around long-term financial picture, and so maybe we need just a little more time before we take this huge bite of the apple.
Another huge bite. So it sounds like the board's then in agreement that we would proceed with A as discussed at our work session, and then for item B, we will rescope that to be a design only and not a full construction.
Correct. We will ask that question, and I'll note that from a time perspective, if we still were able to grant the award from CRTPO for design costs only, in this case, you don't lose any time.
Yeah.
So that's one thing to note. And it further gets you to the ultimate goal, which is construction. So the following year, not only would you not lose any time, but it also may give you a year to gut check everyone to make sure that they do support the project and we don't have a repeat of the past here. And then ultimately apply for really those construction dollars, because your right-of-way dollars, majority of the land Waxhaw already owns.
Yeah.
So that's something else to consider, is really maybe you only want to apply for construction dollars the following year, which increases your scoring metric, which can ultimately reduce your maybe your local match required as well.
That sounds like a great approach.
Thank you for the support on that, James. I think that definitely breaks it down into something bite-sized that so we can see progress continue, but yet not,
Exactly.
not
We keep it
overscope.
moving. And I'm glad we found a way to keep it moving. I think that's most important. And the fact that we've got kind of a smaller piece to chew makes it a lot easier to swallow as well. So, great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Alrighty, next up we have Alara. Consider the approval for the interlocal agreement between the town of Waxhaw and the Union County.
That's James.
Actually, we got one.
This one's James?
We got one
That one
item
says
before,
Alara presenting,
Mayor.
but anyway. So yeah, this is for the road replacement to repair the roads as a result of all the water main work. Take it away.
Exciting news on this one. Folks may have seen our message boards start going up this afternoon. But this is the proposed intersection improvements project at Waxhaw Marvin Road and Pine Oak Road. And this is the final step before we start construction. The action requested this evening from the board is to approve a contract with the recommended contractor for this project and authorize the town manager to execute said contract so that way we can begin construction. So for folks that don't know, here's some background information. So on July 22nd of this year, a formal bid opening was held for the Waxhaw Marvin and Pine Oak Road intersection improvements contract. The town received a total of 3 bids, with Widewaters Construction being identified as the lowest responsible bidder from a total bid amount as well as from a lead time on the traffic signal poles, and I'll get into that here momentarily. The other 2 submitters were Littman Excavating and Construction and True Rock Construction LLC, with those bid amounts broken out there and lead times for the metal poles there provided as well. So project overview, the project will realign this intersection to a 90-degree angle. It will signalize the intersection at a traffic light there, which is important because of the existing sight distance issues that are there today. So that traffic signal will bring folks to a stop condition where folks can then exit from Pine Oak Road, turn left, turn right, without having to worry about being T-boned at that intersection. Which we have seen those types of crash histories along with a recorded fatality, unfortunately, at this intersection as well. In addition, DOT has required us to add turn lanes at the intersection. This is just standard procedure to help in those types of cases. So the existing sight distance issues are to be addressed with a no turn on red condition. And the projected schedule of this project is, assuming BOC approval this evening, will begin next Monday. And then the project will take approximately 6 to 7 months from there for construction. I'll note that 3 to 4 of those months, so really up to December, majority of the project will be complete. The only remaining thing that we will be waiting on are those lead time on the metal poles. And the reasoning for those metal poles is right-of-way constraints at the intersection. So we had to go with metal poles because of right-of-way constraints. I'll also note that those metal poles are manufactured specifically and fabricated specifically for the design. So that's why it takes so long to receive them, is because they're manufactured specifically for the design approved by DOT. A big question for folks may be, well, what does the traffic control plans look like? I'll note that as a part of the planning process with this, staff worked to design a minimized impact to local traffic. So what does that mean? We're going to first start by building a parallel roadway to the existing roadway. So there will be construction barriers in place. The roadway will operate normally, and we'll build that parallel roadway. The second phase of the traffic plan is to basically flip that and open up the new roadway for folks to use while we correct the existing roadway and then utilize lane closure. So there are no detours in this particular case, which is good for folks. With that said, drivers can still expect lane closures during various times throughout the project, predominantly during daytime hours. I'll note that changeable message boards like you see there to the right will be used to provide advanced warning ahead of the work zone. And notices have already been provided to adjacent landowners. We were required to provide them a 10-day advanced notice, so that those notices have been sent out in anticipation for this evening. And I'll just note this project serves as a vital infrastructure improvement ahead of the upcoming Waxhaw Marvin Bridge replacement project. So that bridge replacement project is not a project done by the town. That is a project that's currently scheduled for November of 2027 with the NCDOT. And that project involves closing the Waxhaw Marvin Bridge. And in the interim, if we don't have any solutions to where folks are going to go, they may have some dangerous conditions if we don't mitigate ahead of time of that project. So this project serves as a primary mitigation and infrastructure improvement ahead of that upcoming project. Here's what that final condition will look like. So as you can see, you'll have those turn lanes involved, you'll have that signalization, you'll have that realignment of the intersection. And we're working with DOT to finalize a few things when it comes down to the traffic signal timing, the emphasis on the no right turn there on red, as well to make sure that we're accounting for that existing sight distance issue that's there today. So with that, I'll take any questions and then ask for direction for this evening.
Any questions from the board? Hearing none then, could I get a motion to award the contract to Wide Waters Construction Incorporated for the Waxhaw Marvin Road and Pine Oak Road intersection improvements in the amount of $1,613,511.64 and authorize the town manager to execute said contract?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this motion carries.
All right, thank you.
All righty. Now we have Miss Alara. Sorry, I got that out of order.
Right. Good evening. Alara Baltmiskas, Downtown and Business Development Director. Tonight I'm bringing forward the interlocal agreement between the town of Waxhaw and Union County related to the final pavement restoration associated with the downtown cast iron water main replacement project. So I'll just give you a quick overview of why the agreement is needed, how responsibilities and funding will work, and then the action we're requesting from the board tonight. As you know, Union County has been completing the cast iron water main replacement project throughout downtown. Once that utility work is complete, the affected roadways will need final milling and resurfacing. Through our coordination on the project, the town and county determined that the town is best positioned to administer the final paving work rather than having it included with the county's current construction contract. So this agreement formalizes that arrangement. The town will manage the pavement restoration so that the work is completed to town standards, and while Union County will fund the eligible costs. It also gives both organizations a clear framework for coordination as we move from utility construction into final roadway restoration. Under the agreement, the town will competitively bid, award, and administer the paving contract. Union County will reimburse the town for eligible paving costs up to the not-to-exceed amount of $407,400. The completed work will be inspected and approved by both the town and county. The town will oversee construction and retain ownership of the completed pavement improvements, including administration of any applicable warranties. The agreement also includes a contingency if bids come in above the reimbursement limit. In that case, the county may terminate the agreement and complete the paving as part of its future sewer project. From a financial standpoint, engineering's current estimated construction cost is approximately $300,000. The agreement establishes a not-to-exceed county reimbursement amount of $407,400. The important distinction is that the town will administer the contract and payment process, but the eligible paving costs will be reimbursed by Union County. The contractor will invoice the town will then submit reimbursement requests to the county, and that payment is tied to work that has been inspected and approved by both agencies. With that, staff recommends approval of the interlocal agreement between the Town of Waxhaw and Union County for administration of the pavement restoration associated with the downtown water main replacement project and authorization for the town manager to execute the agreement. And happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from the board? All righty. Yes, Mr. Ferris.
I do have a question and concern. Laura or Scott, maybe you might be able to assist. Is there any reservation with the amount of time that the trenching was open with the substrate? Because I know that the road was open for an extended period, and it was heavily traversed on a regular basis on where they were doing a large portion of their work. Yes. And has that been evaluated?
Yes, and was the impetus for this interlocal agreement so that the town can administer the restoration of the roadway to our standards and repair as those trenches and the open cuts, unless engineering has anything additional they would like to add. But
So basically, we've recognized that there is the potential that damage has occurred.
Yes.
And that the engineering team will be on site, making sure that
Correct.
anything gets repaired.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and in addition, we did work with the county to try to mitigate a lot of the issues.
Yes,
So
throughout the
leading up
project,
to this, and the agreement really came out. Why don't you guys manage making sure that the final product meets your standards here in the town? So I think the staff has done a good job working with the county staff who's been at the table with us, so we appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's helpful that the county's just kind of letting us drive this, so we know the roads will be done to our standards. 'Cause we trust our engineering team and our inspectors, and we know it'll be a good road when it's done. Alrighty then, without further ado, let's go ahead and get a motion to approve the interlocal agreement between the Town of Waxhaw and Union County for administering the pavement restoration of the downtown cast iron water main replacement project and authorize the town manager to execute said agreement.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alara. Alrighty, that concludes the action-packed sequence of our meeting this evening. Next up is leadership reports. We'll go ahead and kick it off to our town manager, Scott Datson. What do you got for us tonight?
He snuck out on you.
Q and the crew. Mike. Commissioner DiIulio.
He's going to torture him to the last minute.
Commissioner Mike, I'm holding the ball out. There's nobody there.
Sorry about that delay. I need someone to be at my seat up there to help with notes. Michael, if you please go up there.
Back by popular
Could you
demand.
handle the notes? Take some notes on this, please. Thank you.
Just when you thought you were out, they pull you back in.
Michael's really, to his credit, done a really good job for us here. He's had a level of enthusiasm that's been unmatched. He's been willing to do whatever except to get his hands dirty. So when he comes back next summer, he'll be working with public services in the ditches and cutting grass. So I told him if he's going to be in this business, he needs to know what every single part does. So next year, hands dirty. Got it? All right, take notes. Thank you. So let's see. This is the July closing update, number 2. We'll have a third one when we officially close the books out. The purpose of the financial reports for the public to understand is that these are unaudited. These are management's view of the inflows and outflows of dollars for the organization. Year end for us, though, while it ended on June 30th, we have remittances and encumbrances that go on beyond that and then count back against books for last fiscal year. So as I promised the board, we want to make sure that we're keeping you up to date about where we are in the closing of the books, and then everything gets turned over to the auditors once the staff takes the final book closing. So Again, this is the fiscal year 26, the last fiscal year. I've just gone through that we'll do, this is the second of 3, and we'll do another third one at your September meeting, actually. The financial dashboard update, the total operating revenues as of this time are at about 97.4% of the total adopted budget for that year as amended. The revenues have come in at 97.4. The expenditures are at 93.7. So we get to the end of the year and it starts to tighten up. Total cash and investments on hand is about 36 million. Most of our local revenues collection, that's our property taxes, have come in from Union County, and the state collected revenues such as sales tax, motor vehicle franchise, POW bill continue. They're at about 89.1%, but they continue to lag. We still haven't received June yet on those numbers. So on the next slide, this just gives you a bar graph version of where general revenues are. Ad valorem exceeded our expectations. Sales tax continues to lag, and we believe that it will be below our expectations at the close of the year, as will franchise. Motor vehicle came in slightly ahead. The other note is building inspection has been down. We talk about those when we talk about the buildings report. On the general fund expenditures, our department heads have done a very good job of keeping those expenses at or below those expenses. We're going to note some of the monies that we moved on the next page, but one thing I wanted to note, sanitation is above that note, and one of the reasons it is, again, it's a remittance issue when we get those invoices, those kinds of things, but they adjust their contract in March. That's just the way our contract works, so it doesn't coincide with our fiscal year. It's mid-year when those happen. So I think the board, when it adopted the current fiscal year, did a good job of getting ahead of that, so hopefully we won't hit that lag. Cash and investments, as we said, we have around 37.6 million. These are by fund balances, so general fund has the largest amount. That is, and 120, that is your undesignated fund balance. The rest are designated balances that are for those projects and/or categories only. The board actually did some work on that this past year, but your general fund, that's your fund that stores your retained earnings. For those of you who use that term in business life, that's our undesignated fund balance and/or retained earnings. So we're still betting that at the end of the year we'll be in positive numbers, but it will be tight. So the board needs to understand that I wanted to note on this, we did in this round of financials that is actually part of your packet, we did start to make larger money moves over to the CIP funds. But we waited to the end of the year to do that to make sure operating and other obligations that we might have were met first. So the board actually directed 1.5 million out of retained earnings into reserve positions. And then in this current fiscal year, staff will have moved about 2.5 million into those reserve positions as well. There you can see the 1.5. It says resolved because my computer and I are having an argument about when I resolve it and when I don't resolve it, and the computer seems to win in the language department. But our cash reporting format, we do have dollars in the bank. We are still resolving issues. Now, one of the things I think it's important for the board to see as we go through our financials is that as we close out a year, we have to reconcile through journal entries and through other movements around the financials to satisfy where the dollars need to be. That's management's representation. The auditor then audits management's representation of those numbers. So we'll continue to make journal entries. Even when the auditor comes in, then we work it out with the auditor where we could have moved it here or done that, or moved it from one fund to another or from one account to another. So we continue to reconcile that. We're giving you a clearer picture, though, how we make the sausage going through the end of the fiscal year. So what happens next is we'll do final adjustments on closing entries, and we'll say all encumbrances, all remittances to the best of our knowledge have been completed. Those financials will then be finally prepared and turned over to the auditor, and then we go through that process. Any questions?
Any questions from the board?
I'm just so glad so many people stuck around to listen to the financials. This is the exciting part of it.
Best part
we
of the
do
meeting, what are you
put,
talking
so the public knows, we do put our financials online. You can go to our web pages in administration and finance, and we do put these reports on in their full detail. So if you want more detail and you're a math geek and you like it, have at it. So, have some fun with that. So there you go. Let's see. I think we have to go to the next one now. Okay, so this is the first actual official fiscal report for the new fiscal year. So that's the 26-27 year. And we'll go through that rather quickly because not a lot of exciting things have happened so far this year. There are two things to note. Number one, in the first part of our fiscal year, from an operations perspective, it's very little spending. However, also at the beginning of the year, and you all may face this, the larger bills come in. So the one-time bills like paying debt or mortgage for the building, your insurance, we pay it all up front, those kinds of things. So we get a lot of that stuff up front. So cash flow starts to become more important. And for the next 6 months, you'll hear me talk a lot about cash flow dips, where we are. As a basic understanding, the town does not really receive its cash flow for the year until around December. We'll get quarterlies from the state on state dollars and some other things, but we don't have a real cash flow. That's why we keep more cash on hand than you might normally keep. So the other thing that I want you to note in these reports is that we're going to emphasize capital spending and cash flow because those are big things in front of us. We'll have at least $3 million going out the door in addition to what you would normally have in capital in the first 6 months. So that's a larger number than we're normally used to for cash flow. So we're going to talk a lot about that, and it's all on capital spending side. The second thing we've tried to do with your financials is tie them to the board's goals, and senior leadership has been working on a strategy and tactics to achieve those goals. And so you're going to see the drafts of those into the financials that we're trying to work towards, working towards your goals that you set back in February. This is not a process you do once a year. Now we're going to make it every month, and we're going to try to tie back to those goals so the board has a better performance idea about where we're at. Are we making the right decisions as we move along? So these financials will start to reflect that. Again, they're unaudited. So several goals that we have here I want to note. I want to be very clear about this first one when it talks about the fiscal years of 27 to 31 CIP, and it says a GO bond recommendation. It is staff's position that we are recommending that the board consider a series of financing options. We talked about it at our last meeting. We'll continue to talk about it. There's not a decision in front of you yet on these things yet as the board works through that. However, when it comes out here, what it's telling you is that $14 million over 5 years has an effect on your cash position. That's your savings account. That's how much you have in your bank accounts, and then it also has an effect on tax rates. It has an effect on operation cost and your cash position. So we want to keep that in front of you, but that is about infrastructure. The majority of those costs are for infrastructure for the town. So for the public's edification, one of your first goals was to make sure that we had sound infrastructure. So that's why that sits there. Capital spending and cash flow focus, that's part of your economic sustainability, making sure we keep our financial house in order. Cost to serve analysis. If you'll recall, we did a cost to serve analysis that was internal. The board then directed to do more. So 2 things to report out on that. The county, in my discussions with the county manager, is going to work towards a county-wide cost of service. It's been part of a request by several board members to include that kind of information in it. It really requires the county to do that. They've actually been discussing that and want to work that into theirs. That will be helpful. That means we don't study it, they study it, then we can plug numbers and play. So, but we're continuing to do cost to serve analysis on things like the future 5 years. We talked to you a lot about what the last 5 years were like. Now we want to start talking about the next 5 years and keep that as a rolling conversation and making sure we understand how much it costs us to serve in the operating lines. And then one of the things that you folks worked on last time is moving forward with the police fleet financing. I just want to report out that we told you 4.9, we got 4.65. So we're excited about that. That rate, that's saves you money. So we're looking forward to that. So in our spending to cash flow, this is just helping folks understand that the board for the next 6 months or so, then you get right into budget, your goals, and then to budget again. See, it never goes away, Daniel. It's just part of that ongoing conversation. I see the look on your face. You're excited about this. That's great. But it's part of that. So we are going to constantly talk about where your financials are. And that's always going to be in front of you. So I have 2 issues that we tried to highlight in this report. One is short term. We're in a lull. So starting around August till about December is our lowest cash point. We burn the most cash. We use the most cash. We have ongoing outflows of monies that happen on a monthly basis just to maintain and keep the lights on and pay people and make sure policemen are there to patrol and cars work and folks are out there cutting grass and fixing sidewalks, all the things that we do, providing services throughout the town. But this is our lull. This is our low point. We collect the majority of our taxes and the majority of our finances in December, January, and February of any fiscal year. So we have a cash timing issue that we're paying very close attention to right now. We're working with engineering and public services on some outflow issues of that nature as they're coming to you now. And then we need and want to talk about more of that long-term CIP financing that the board will deal with. Remember, the board has a plan. We're going against the plan. We know actuals because you've adopted contracts, mostly on transportation issues. So we'll talk about that more and talk about what that means on your cash position. So that is in your report as well. General fund revenues, as you can see, we've earned about $144,000 so far. That's the lull. The outflow is $2.2 million. Now that's a little higher than usual. We did move money into CIP positions for certain things this year, so that is reflected in that norm. Our normal outflow of cash is about $1.5 million a month, give or take. So your cash and investments, again, are still solid, and we've earned about $100,000 in income. In investment income. Now, that's going to become a very important thing as you guys consider cash flow moving forward. The money that you have in the bank creates around $1.2 million a year in incoming income, which is about 2 cents on your tax rate. So the money you have in the bank actually offsets your cost structure. So again, it's unaudited. We're moving forward with this. The council at the Board of Commissioners, I'm sorry, I've worked for councils, boards, several things over my career. Sorry to call you a council member. I'll call you a commissioner from now on out. But we'll continue the conversation at your work session, and it's going to carry on for a while the board digests it. And again, I'm always available, a phone call away or a visit away. I'm always happy to go through any of this information with you one-on-one if you need any additional, have any additional questions. So those are the financial reports. Can I answer any questions?
Any questions from the board?
Yeah, I certainly applaud the county board for doing a cost to serve study county-wide. That's excellent. As far as how our existing Waxhaw cost to serve study plugs in, do we necessarily have to wait for them to complete their study, or can we just plug into some numbers for the major costs at the county level, such as per student and, wastewater costs, things like that?
We can put some of those bigger headline numbers in, and that's about all we could do. But we'll be happy to do that. You'll hear a development report from Kevin tonight. We've been honing in on a cost to serve 5-year scenario model that we'll be able to educate the board with hopefully by September. So we've been doing that analysis. We can do headline numbers right now. We know the cost per student, for example, that's published. We know what those water and sewer costs are, headline. But until they finish, we won't be able to plug anything from them other than the headline numbers. But we'll continue to do that. You can do that, multiply by household, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we'll do the best we can with what we have that we do know about right now.
Right, yeah. Obviously, it would be perfected once the county is finished.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, if we could at least have some kind of a formula that, and you could even look at some previously approved developments and see how they shake out, But for the future, if a development request comes up, that staff would have a formula to just plug everything into and get a pretty good idea of what that cost to serve would be.
Yeah, we've actually been playing with a model in-house to figure out the best model we can use and how it might work. So that's still in production right now, but we can certainly consider that and how that might affect something. So
sounds good. Thanks.
Any other questions? Oh, yeah, thank you. Always good to have a tap on the shoulder when you're up here. I thought it was the chief coming after me for something, but it's nice to know I haven't done anything wrong yet. Kevin brought up a good point. Central Lina, we had asked Central Lina Council of Governments if they would consider some cost to service and data modeling from a more regional perspective that might be of a help to all of us. And we were one of 4 towns that got selected across the region to be part of that study. They also know how far we are with some of our modeling and things like that. So we're really looking forward to participating in that with them. And that'll be probably about a year-long process. Yeah, it's about a year-long process to get that together. The COG used to be a data center. Everybody then all of a sudden thought they were a data center, not the same kind of data center, but a centralized hub for data on the regional basis, traffic movement, cost to serve, cost of roads, cost of schools, cost of water and sewer, all those things that really have a regional interconnection to them. And they picked us to be part of that, so we're excited to be part of that too. So I think the board's going to start getting a lot more robust information as we move through the year. But that doesn't excuse you from reading everything I give you, all 500 pages, Richard. So and we'll get those to you, but it's a process going through this, and I think y'all need to be part of that and get that language and how it moves together. You're part of a larger region, and you play a role in that. So, and it affects you and you affect it. So we'll try to keep that together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Ms. Dina Saminsky. Parks and Rec. Zabinski.
Good evening again. I'm your Park and Rec Director, Miss Dina. I have, oopsie. I didn't do anything. Here tonight, just to give you an update of all things Park and Rec. One, look at these smiles. Isn't that awesome? We've got some new public art at Kensington and Nesbitt Park. If you haven't seen it, please come by and look, drive, walk, all that good jazz. But I want to give a special thank you to Miss Emily, the Kensington principal. Bernardo and his family came out and took some pictures with us. And Miss Melissa and team, we were out there really early in the morning painting this. It was kind of spooky, but it was fun too. Got to do something creative. So I just want to give a shout out to the team and more public art to come. Give you an update on the action plan for the skate park. So we had a great turnout. I wanted to give you some updates on those numbers. 17 participants online, 214 on Flash Vote. So if you haven't signed up for Flash Vote, sign up so you can participate in these surveys because they're awesome. Also, we had over 50 participants in person at the many feedback areas that we had in person to go to. The consultant has all this data now, and they're swishing it up and going to bring it back to us in about a month and then give us some renderings and the data that was collected for us to get some eyes on some renderings. And then after we give some more public feedback, and then they'll come back for us to finish out the plan. Okay. I got a request to give y'all a heads up on what our partnerships with Girls on the Run. So if you're not aware, we've been partnering with Girls on the Run for over 10 years. They basically do a takeover of downtown. But the key components is the Ginger Snap race. They go over all the registration, the participant management, the volunteers, and then like the race company and all that good jazz. The town does an in-kind sponsorship where we take care of all the event setup, breakdown, traffic control, signage, detours, electrical signs, cones, barricades, and the public safety part of it. The main departments involved is Park and Rec, police, fire, EMS, and the emergency management team. The heavy hitters is mainly Park and Rec and police, just because it's very hands-on to make sure that we keep the citizens safe during this time, during the race. I just wanted to give you all a heads up on what our participations is. And then it is event season. We're in it. We're in it to win it. So we got coming up Bugs Life. That is August the 21st. And then we roll into Skate night on September the 4th. And then 9/11, Patriots Day, is the 11th. And then the 18th is Jamming by the Tracks, another one. We just had one last weekend. It was a great success. Thanks for everybody coming out. But again, this is almost every weekend until the end of December. So we are in it. Mark your calendars. If you don't have one of those handy-dandy cards, we have them at Town Hall and all of our Parks and Rec facilities. Please come and join us and be a part of the community. Any questions?
Questions from the board? Nope.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dina. Another fun event season this year. It's going to be good. Mr. Kevin, what do you got?
Okay. I'm going to keep this one pretty short. This is the executive summary. I believe you guys should have the full version in you should have received that as well. Goes into a little bit more detail. As Scott mentioned, not a lot going on right now. However, we are trying to kind of play around with this data and get something that's going to be useful for us moving forward in several different ways. I'll run through this real quick. We had 11 residential units that were permitted. We're going to start putting that data in here for you as well. And for the public, anybody watching, a unit can be permitted and can take several months to a year more, or sometimes never before it gets built. So we try to differentiate between that. We had 11 units that were permitted so far in 2026 through the first 2 quarters, the first 6 months. We had 29 total that were built. That residential COs, units built. So some of those are going to have permits from the year before that are just now being completed. We also had 2 non-residential structures completed. Those are the first 2 that were CO'd, new construction for this year. 17.8 million. We're up to that so far in 26, and 1,466 residential units that are in the pipeline and projected, not yet permitted or built. Most of that you'll see here is relatively the same. Our pace right now on the residential side is below our 10-year quarterly average, significantly below that. So we are in a slump in terms of residential construction, even though we have a record number of units that have been approved. On the commercial side, we also have a vested pipeline that's several times this year's built total. Overall, our valuations of upfits and repairs, which are all other permits that we have that are not new construction, we're still kind of holding steady on that. The one thing I wanted to do on here for you, as we kind of continue to drill down on this a little bit, it's one thing to look at what we've got that's been built. It's another thing to kind of try to project out where we're going in the future. The gray that you see on that chart right now, those are developer projections from us talking with the developers, asking them what they expect their build-outs are going to be for the various projects. There's a more detailed graph in the total packet, the full document that you got. We took that, we pulled it into this. It's a little bit scary to look at, but keep in mind things rarely ever built out exactly like the developers tell you they're going to, or like people are afraid they're going to. We did a regression analysis for absorption rates of development, going back really to some of our earliest subdivisions in the 60s and 70s. So the line that you see there kind of reflects that rate, which is based on size, which is based on how long the average time on the different size developments it took to build out. And so we think it's probably a little bit more reasonable that you would see around 289 to 300 units over kind of a max of those over the next 3 to 4 years. We do have some other developments that have been approved that will be coming into this that are not shown here. So that could go up or down a little bit, but we don't think it's going to be that peak of 600-700 units there at the top. That's kind of reiterated here. The developer pipeline projects projects a sharp rebound, peaking around 684 units in 2028. That's nearly 100 units higher than what we've ever hit, which was in 2018. But when the historically calibrated model, we see that being substantially lower. The 3 largest projects that we have right now, Emerson Park, Yarborough Farms, and Adelina, are sized such that comparable developments historically took 12 to 17 years to build out. I believe Millbridge, it's roughly 2,100 units, and I think it took around 19 years in total to build out. More likely to be finishing in the late 2030s than by 2032. Smaller projects tend to have a little faster turnaround on those. Non-residential and upfits and repairs, the vested pipeline, we've got 991,000 square feet. So a substantial amount of new non-residential construction that's in the pipeline. If it delivers similar pace to 2025, we would expect commercial and retail and service are going to keep leading on construction. Industrial is still really underperforming. We haven't really had any of that built to date in the last 8 or 9 years there. Upfits and repairs, we think those are going to stay steady at around 8.3 million a year in terms of project valuations. And then again, we try to provide the map with these as well, just to kind of see where some of the activity is. Your red are your 2 commercial buildings that were completed, totaling around 34,000 square feet. Your orange are your townhomes, and your yellow are single-family detached. There was only 6 of those in total for this quarter. We do expect that will be a little bit higher next quarter.
All righty. Any questions from the board? Mr. Ferris, what do you have?
A polite request. With the map that we're displayed here, the grade share areas, that is our Waxhaw town limits.
Yes.
There are donut holes.
There are donut holes, yes. Yeah.
And within those donut holes, residential and commercial development has occurred.
Yeah, I would believe so, yeah. In some of them, yeah.
Is there a possibility that we could also look at that data possibly plugged in where available, in how we look at also the absorption rate when thinking about that, because that will have a cost to serve and impact. As Commissioner Daunt has pointed out, those will have an impact on us as we travel and work on our roads. And so just would love to be able to maybe as a supplemental possibly have that included.
Yeah, so I see what you're saying there. I think in terms of the development reports, simply because they're going to the county, and a lot of that data is going to the county, we may not be able to get the same exact data that we produce in some of these, but I think long term and looking at the impacts and everything, especially when it comes to cost of service, we could do more of a, depending on what data we need for that, we could do more of a service area, not an ETJ, but a kind of a little bit larger area around that would include some areas outside as well, like something within a quarter mile, and then all of those donut holes as well, because those are going to impact the town. So we could try to pull data from that as well. Sure.
Would appreciate it. I know focusing within our core and our limits, but then a supplemental so we can understand how those not ETJs that those neighboring essentially donut holes or impacts and how we need to possibly evaluate adjustments.
Yeah. Kind of like a sphere of influence kind of thing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that makes sense. We could do that.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, Kevin. Coming up on August 25th at 6:30 p.m. in the town chambers, we will have our next work session. Not sure what's on that agenda at this point, but it should be interesting nonetheless. And then with that, can I get a motion to adjourn? Do we just want comments? Oh, yeah.
I just want to say one thing about the folks that showed up tonight. I want to thank everybody that showed up like I did before, but also if anybody was here or noticed the crowd, there was a lot of young people in the crowd. And I just want to pass along my thanks. I'm sure the rest of the board is thankful for the community involvement, especially from our young people. And some of them spoke very eloquently this evening and stuck around for a really long time. And it was really encouraging to see. And along with that, just want to give a special thanks to Michael Canova, that good luck to you on your endeavors at UNC Charlotte. I know they're getting a great student and a great leader there, so you've already raised the GPA there at that school. So, and thank you for everything you did for the city. I'm not sure how much, being an intern, you don't get paid much or maybe not at all. You were at everything, and, it was just, you're a great inspiration for the young people here and for even us old folks that, we think we do a lot, but we can always do more. And good luck with your 501c3, your nonprofit that you manage. So
I feel bad for your municipal government professor. That's all I'm going to say. To be a fly on that wall.
Any other comments from the board?
Yeah, for those who follow the Board of Education, Commissioner Gimignani and I attended a meeting last week because of concern and trying to understand why traffic directors were removed from the Waxhaw Elementary School. And at the board meeting, we saw that they turned down $3.8 million from the county, and they are saying that they need to save $200,000 by getting rid of these traffic directors. I just want to say for everyone who's concerned about this that I'm hopeful that they might reverse that decision for that particular school, at least. Thank you.
Yeah, just to add to that, we did have a chance to meet with them earlier this week, all parties involved, and they took the time to listen. The school board took the time to listen to both the town leadership. Mayor Pro Tem Wedra and I were there, along with our chief of police, as well as some of our traffic engineers, as well as DOT. They were there to basically recommend we reinstate these traffic managers, traffic directors. So hopefully they'll change their mind, but at this point all we can do is hope. We'll see what decision they make in the future. Any other comments? Alrighty then, let's go ahead and get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are now adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.